but you'll have in mind that Communist Party was the leader. They formatted policy, what to do, psychiatric abuse,
So
putting people into psychiatric hospitals because of their dissident activity.
This is what China does right now, actually.
Image of KGB is very powerful, but they didn't do the biggest job, stop resistance.
各位朋友们，大家好，安安大家好，我是苏泰，欢迎收看这一期的节目。现在我们到立陶宛的有关民主转型以及有关以前受到共产主义的迫害的博物馆，也就是大家应该是有听过有一个叫做 KGB 博物馆，因为它以前在这里就是一个 KGB 的监狱。那这次我有邀请一位特别来宾，这就是 Kristina Burinskaite。She's working at the museum, and first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to take part in our show. And we will be talking about Lithuania's democratic transformation and what did Lithuanian people go through during the Soviet occupation, during the Nazi occupation.
Hello.
Okay, so the first question I'm going to ask you is because Lithuania faced two different occupations by the Nazi regime and two occupations by the Soviet regime, actually. And could you please share with the viewers what did those regimes do to the Lithuanian people and what were the differences between the two occupations?
The second part of 20th century was tragic and very difficult for Lithuanians because, as you mentioned, they suffered two occupations. Soviet lasted for 50 years and Nazi around 4 years. So what is common, we have, they were totalitarian, both totalitarian, repressive, non-democratic regimes, and Lithuanians were under suppression, under persecution on both occupations, but on different scales. Because these two regimes were a little bit different. Because Soviets, when they came, they started to change everything. Political, economical, societal, cultural state of Lithuania. Mass repression started immediately. But when the Nazi came, they had to somehow to deal with Lithuanians to avoid resistance because they were fighting Soviets and they didn't need any resistance from Lithuanians in the war territory. And Soviets didn't think about when they occupied Lithuania. But when the Soviets came back in 1944, the repressions and changes of everything continued until 1990. So we have a little bit different. When we talk about resistance, we also have a different situation. In 1940, when the occupation and annexation was going on, Lithuanians were a little bit in a mess because government, no military side, uprising. There was occupation. People didn't know what is going on because Lithuanian press says, well, there is change of government and nothing wrong. But when the repression started, they saw something going on, and when the war broke out between Soviet and Nazi, Lithuanian uprising. There was armed resistance uprising of June in 1941. Of course, they did, with the Germans were coming, they uprised, and the Soviets were left. So this is one of moment of the first Soviet occupation. When the Nazi came, Lithuanians were thinking that do everything that Soviets would not come. So, of course, they didn't do what the Germans wanted to do. Didn't go to their army, to go to work to Germany, try to do. So we can talk about unarmed peaceful resistance to Nazi, except for communist partisans who fight with arms. When Soviets came back, we have 10 years war resistance, and after Stalin's death, when armed resistance stopped, they perished. An armed resistance, various organizations, individual uprising or something to do to show that we oppose to Soviet government. So we have democratic ideas, for religious freedom. So various form of resistance to this occupation.
It actually is a very tragic history, especially if we look at the resistance of Lithuanian people. It lasted for more than 10 years after the Second World War. So people were not giving up and they were still trying to keep their freedom.
Yes, it's, as I think this is the period of tragic, of dramatic, of heroism, and betrayal, a lot of everything. So they fight with the Soviets almost alone. Lithuanian territory is not very good for resistance. We didn't have any support from outside, except some efforts of Western intelligence service to help Lithuanian partisans, but they did not do anything very vital to help, because Lithuania was surrounded by sea, by Poland, and to help somehow. And the period was after war, so Western countries did not want to go to any war just to protect some small countries. They were tired of war. So it's not a very good period for resistance, but still, they tried to stop Sovietization, elections, collectivization. They managed 10 years with little military experience, with guns, but with the help of nation, they kept for 10 years.
Can you tell the viewers something about the collectivization and about the policies of the Soviets that they have imposed here in Lithuania? Because for Taiwan, the experience was a little bit different. It was still an authoritarian state, but they maintained a certain level of market economy. But here it was absolutely different, right?
Yes, no private property, no private business, no factory property, everything was state. When Soviets came, one of the first directives, like Sovietization of policy, political life, Sovietization of economy life was implemented, because according to Soviets, in communists, no private property, it's equality, which is just official, like we say. In real life, it's a different. Communists have some privilege, and common people they didn't have such privilege, but officially said that everybody is equal. So people lost everything. Of course, they lived in their house. They have some farm to do something. But they took off cattle, other stuff, everything to collective farms. But this was very bad for agriculture, because it was such a big transition, because a lot of farmers were persecuted, were sent to Siberia because they are farmers, individual. And if you want to collectivize everything, you have to get rid of such person with mind to work for himself, to be strong, independent. And collectivization, you just work for a government, and it doesn't matter how good or bad you work, you just work. So it's the situation was very down, very low productivity of everything.
Because you don't have any incentive. What are you working
Yes,
for?
and there are a lot of stealings because they thought that if it's nobody, it means of everything you can take.
Belongs to everyone.
Yes, belongs to everything. So it's a very bad habit who was still felt in the first decade of independence, because it's very hard to respect our property and to think independently and to work for yourself.
I think that here on the second floor you're also talking about the KGB infiltration of the society, or the secret services of the Soviet Union. Can you tell the Taiwanese viewers something about it? Because they also experienced some secret police harassment before.
Yes, the KGB was one of the main pillars of Communist Party who supported the Soviet occupational regime. It's very interesting that in 1939, just 1 year before occupation, Lavrentiy Beria, Soviet NKVD minister, a decree was released that some groups of Lithuanian, Latvian, Estonia, and Poland should be persecuted after occupation. You see, it's 1939. Wow. It is one before any ultimatum or other. You see,
like the Nazis, they didn't attack the Soviets at the time.
Yes. Soviets said that repressions were because of Lithuanians' resistance, but it's already decided. The occupation. It doesn't matter if you took the ultimatum in 1940 or you resist. It was already decided because they were very big. The war broke. The Western countries think about other things, and so return to KGB. Yes, it did every bad thing they did, but you'll have in mind that Communist Party was the leader. They formatted policy what to do, because in Lithuania still thinking that KGB is enemy number one, but everybody forgets
about the Communist Party.
About Communist Party, that sometimes they were more severe than KGB. So KGB used various methods to suppress any resistance, potential or real resistance, and keep obedience of society. So in Stalinist time, we're saying about mass repression, brutality. They wanted to destroy every potential mind of repression and person who can repress: military, politician, or organization, Catholic Church. So did everything to just think that people didn't even think about it. After Stalinist time, they're changing agent activity, psychiatric abuse.
So
putting people into psychiatric hospitals because of their dissident activity.
This is what China does right now, actually. Like they're using the same methods. There was a lady in China that spilled some ink on the portrait of the Communist Party leader, and then she was put into the psychiatric hospital.
Well, KGB is not didn't start anything new. Probably they use some methods that secret services used in different times, but this is on the state level, on the government level. After Stalinist time, they wanted to show that, to make impression that everybody's under surveillance, that where everybody agents, because they didn't have a lot of equipment, people to look after everybody. It's impossible. But they want to show image that they can do anything. It's not. It's just. It's very good to spreading idea that everybody is listening. So you should do something, anything, say anything. Just keep obedient. Still live your life and don't say anything against the Soviet government.
How did they conduct surveillance against the people?
As I mentioned, agent activity. They was targeted to look after some specific society group, Catholic Church, intelligence, former political prisoners and deportees, people regained from deportations as they were still under surveillance, tourists who coming. So these were potential enemies.
Okay.
So of course, if someone, especially schools, university, culture, people whose opinion is very important to society. So Soviets wanted that these people speak, the government wanted to speak. So they looked after what they are speaking, what they're thinking, if they see that they're speaking not as government. So various form of repression, not just putting into prison. You can lose your job, you will not get any offers, for example, artists. You can sell your paintings just freely. There is, you have from government offers to paint something, to do something. So if you're not speaking very good, you will not get any job.
And the jobs were provided by the state only. There were no private enterprises.
Of course, you can write some books, some paintings, but you can get money for this. Just doing for yourself, waiting maybe some changes, and you will can. But you are under control. Everything was controlled under union, artist, scientist union, and such a communist party itself. These organizations, this form of control also society. A resistance of Catholic Church was going on all the Soviet period. A lot of killed,
like in Poland.
Yes, a lot of killed, deported, persecuted, but still they're going on. So they put a lot of efforts that Lithuanian and religion press stopped going to West. But a lot of agents, surveillance, secret measures, but still they're going on. So image of KGB is very powerful, but they didn't do the biggest job, stop resistance. What is important, they wanted to show that they are powerful, but they were not as powerful as they wanted to show. Of course, they did a lot of damage, but still they were not so powerful.
And the Lithuanian people kept on resisting up until the final moment.
Yes.
And it's good that Lithuania succeeded, and right now it's a free and a democratic country. This building, it used to be KGB office and prison, right?
Yes.
Can you tell the viewers how did it transform from being the KGB building, a prison, into a museum that it is here today?
KGB left Lithuania in 1991. Because
after the independence.
Yes. They lived in they stayed in Lithuania for a year when putsch in Moscow just after putsch they left. So they remained this building, and the last year they were destroying, taking away some documents, especially agents' documents, to the Moscow, destroying, and people were getting information that KGB doing such. So there are some meetings here in just to stop this, because they wanted to keep this information to see what about who did the crimes, who did other jobs. So when the Lithuanians regained this building, when KGB left this, in 1992, just 1 year after they left this, the museum, just one part, when the prison was open, and just other exhibitions were later was implemented, because some part of this building was transferred to trials, to archive. Just some part of this building belongs to museum. So just part on part was made. It's like natural to make this building of KGB, to make a museum of repression of pain of Lithuanians.
And after Lithuania regained its independence in 1990, there have been many buildings and many former assets of the Soviet Communist Party here, right? In Vilnius and Kaunas, for example, like buildings where they conducted, for example, like this building, or some other assets that the Communist Party have. What did the Lithuanian government and the Lithuanian people do to those buildings, and how were the assets transferred from the Communist Party to the people?
For example, Lithuanian parliament is building where Lithuanian Supreme Soviet was, and where the Central Committee of Lithuanian Communist Party, I think now it's government Lithuanian, so it's like naturally transferred into state institution of Lithuanians. So it's just some natural transformation. They didn't ruin or something. Did just a transformation into giving to other institutions.
And what about, as we have just talked about it, for example, because people didn't have any private property, and the farms, they also used to belong to the government. And when the Soviets left, what happened to those farms, and how were they transferred to people, and to whom? And can you let the
yes, it's very complicated, very complicated process because people wanted to get their property as soon as possible, but it was not so easy because it belonged to others, or was in a bad shape, belonged to state. So somebody just, for example, collective farms, they have some money because in Gorbachev time there was a possibility to make some money, just to do something unofficial. Yes. So they bought some collective farms, some buildings, so started there some business. Some land, especially what was important for Lithuanians to regain their lands, but Lithuanians were moving to one place or another, maybe for former deportees who came and returned to Lithuania. Somebody already lived there. Yeah. So the Lithuanian state decided to give land to other territory or give some money instead of
like
land
compensation.
So in this way they are regaining some property or compensation, but it's very complicated in Vilnius, in Kaunas, because the land is very expensive, the property very expensive, and the state local government don't have such money to give, so they give lands or properties in the place maybe people don't want, but the process is already finished, regaining of property. Also we have that it's just personal regaining, for example, religious communities, Jewish community also regaining their properties that was nationalized in Nazi Soviet period. It's not so easy because it's big properties, and to get money or other compensation, it's not very easy for Lithuanians. And have in mind that not Lithuania nationalized, it's different countries nationalized. Yes. So we estimated, there was some effort to estimate money price of occupation to get from Soviets, but of course we're still calculating, but politicians still believe that maybe someday we'll get some money from Soviets, from Russians, but just expectations.
Well, at least they have to have something, a different kind of government to accept that what they did before is wrong.
Yes, for Germany did something compensation
Yeah.
for who forced even Lithuanians. Not I don't speak about Jewish. Lithuanians were forced to go to Germany to work. Yes, they get some compensation for Germany. So not Lithuanians paid, but Germany. So maybe someday in Russia changes and we'll get, we'll believe some changes in the future.
Well, I also hope so, because what the Soviet Union did to the Central European countries and to the Baltic states,
Yes.
Many people just think that nothing happened, but Poland was also under an occupation, even though maintaining formally its independence, but all of the decisions have been made by Moscow. Even the constitution of Poland has been adjusted by Stalin himself personally. Same thing with the Czech Republic, with Slovakia, with Estonia, with Latvia, with Lithuania. We're right now in Lithuania. And it is very important to keep on talking about those things and let those unfair things that happen to our countries be addressed. And if Russia wants to become a part of the world society once again, they will have to at least say sorry, right?
Yes, because in state level nobody said sorry, just Russian dissident Sergei Kovalyov said we're sorry for what Russian do. And this period, we already passed 30 years, but still it's painful because the war with Ukraine rose some tendency to take off Soviet all monuments, street numbers, street names that connected some Soviets, and our institution is doing such job. A lot of discussions about, especially about artists, writers. Is he just a writer or he was a collaborator? How to deal with these two aspects of their life. So still discussing, still no one opinion. I don't know, maybe it should not be one opinion, but still we are still discussing about this.
Well, hope that with time the wounds will be healed and that Russia will address those issues and cooperate and at least say they're sorry, like from the governmental level.
I hope.
Thank you so much, Kristina.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. 非常感谢各位的观看。如果喜欢这种内容的影片，请记得帮我按赞、订阅跟留言。然后你们到立陶宛一定要拜访，就是这个博物馆，可以了解非常多关于立陶宛的历史。感谢大家，我是崔唐梅，下次见。